The bike share unlock at 2:07 a.m. The final dock wasn't our street. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of roots. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Roots edit. At 2:07 a.m. the city's bike-share app sent me the kind of cheerful cruelty only software has perfected. Ride started dock 42, Lark and Lantern. 2 minutes later, ride ended dock 19, the Mercer Hotel. I wasn't at the Mercer. Jonah had texted at 10:46, bored, wants one more drink. Don't wait up. He handles donors the way a bartender handles ice, competently, pretending not to mind the cold. At 7:05 I'd filmed the coffee because ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he keeps for nights that plan to rename themselves. The app didn't rename anything, it confessed. I set the phone face down because I was tired of doing bravery with my eyes. The apartment had the posture rooms get when they've rehearsed a story without you. The radiator breathed like an amateur chorus. The hallway practiced neutrality. I boiled water because water doesn't audition. The kettle sang, a small, useful spine in the middle of other people's verbs. At 3:12, the lock cleared its throat. Jonah stepped in with his tie loose and his shoes hooked by 2 fingers like witnesses too tired to lie. He smelled like lime, and a decision made in decent lighting. He saw the phone wake up on the counter and his pupils turned into clocks, that small dilation that arrives right before he chooses a verb. "You're up," he said, as if etiquette had mailed me a warning. "The city thinks you exercise at ungodly hours," I said. "Dock 42 to dock 19. The Mercer is very proud of your cardio." He put both palms flat on the table the way our therapist taught us when we wanted to give words somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why," I said, because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the map writes our minutes. Jonah looked at the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because the part wasn't coming," he said. "Because donors clapped in the wrong places and wanted to be forgiven with gin. Because the bar got loud when money started telling stories and Levi. Yes, that Levi, intimacy's evangelist, said the air by the Mercer is good at teaching a mouth to be brave. Because I believed him for 5 minutes. Because the couch at the studio lies about rest. Because the bike docs have learned to call honesty a fee." "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the elevator," he said. "Once, small and honest and wrong, I came home." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said, which is the sentence I keep for when mercy arrives before I find the tone to hold it. We didn't sleep. We did something more humiliating and useful. We agreed to go to the Mercer at noon, when cities pretend to be merciful. The lobby smelled like citrus that had learned to whisper. The woman at the desk had a cathedral's poise. "Welcome back," she said to Jonah, the phrase falling between us like a dare. Levi was already in the lounge, hands around a paper cup as if heat could be convinced to stay gentle. He saw us both and didn't pretend surprise, my favorite trick in men who owe a room honesty. "I was coming to apologize," he said, "to you both, and to whatever part of this building mistakes glass for absolution." He lifted his palms with the careful poverty of a man who wants you to count the knives he doesn't have. "He loves you," he added, looking at me. "I like being near that. I'm sorry my job uses the same grammar as desire." "You don't get to call it ours," I said, "because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a bike is a ledger. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen." Jonah didn't look at Levi. He looked at me with the exact weight of a man deciding which door deserves his mouth. "I want open windows," he said, "not open doors." We left with nothing more dramatic than the river trying to volunteer absolution. At home, I moved the kitchen chair into the middle of the floor because procedures save men when gods won't. Jonah smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss was apology without speeches. The second slid his fingers under my shirt and my hand to the back of his neck, the spot he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't perform a ceremony. We used heat as a system. In the doorway, my palm found his hip bone and remembered him properly. His breath found my throat and got its timing right. If I could draw the rest without being evicted by an algorithm that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. You can have breath that belonged to both of us, a belt resigning with grace, a wrist pinned with permission and not claim. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. 2 nights later, the bike share posted a smug little reel. How night rides keep the city moving. Fast cuts. The lark and lantern sign blinking like a co-conspirator, spokes flaring, the orange docks at the Mercer in handsaw light. In the edge of one frame, just before the logo walked the clip off-screen, you could catch 2 men in the glass. Jonah adjusting his collar, Levi's hand hovering in that intimacy director way, not touching and somehow worse. Someone tagged my account like a friend of a friend, deciding they were helpful. Comments did what comments do. I typed nothing. I turned the phone face down. I put the chair back in the middle of the kitchen and sat until I could laugh. Jonah came home and handed me his phone without instructions. "Delete or archive," he said. "I don't want new grammar." "You don't need me to erase your verbs," I said. He rested his forehead against mine like a paperweight on a better draft. A week later, the email arrived with fonts that have never had to apologize to a kitchen. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, kind windows. Jonah forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. "I want to go without disappearing," he wrote. "I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did." I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in his careful mess. If an "I can't" is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, nothing, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the bike share history against my will and stared until last rides admitted they were just math, not profits. I moved the chair instead. At 8:12, he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a God. "I almost kissed a window," he said. "It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds." He came back with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like living animals. "They're not good," he said. "They're mine," I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper, kettle, a room that knows it isn't a lobby. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. "Here," he said into the bend of my neck, which is the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Levi learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once after the kiss on preview night. He didn't text. Neither did we. The bike docks kept their cheerful cruelty. The Mercer kept its very good glass. One more test. The world is thorough when it thinks you've studied. At 12:05 a.m. my phone buzzed. Ride started, Dock 19, the Mercer Hotel. I moved the chair because rituals are safer than stories. The lock cleared its throat at 1:17. Jonah came in with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. I walked him to the curb, he said. He kissed the night goodbye. I kissed the brake lever, good decision. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it. I'm tired of coming back, I said. I want to stay. He touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture belonged exactly where it landed. We went to bed without performing an essay on forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. The orange docks still confess more than they owe. The corridor at the Mercer still reflects 4 men when there are only 2. The city keeps making rooms that want to pronounce us. I keep the kettle and the chair we move when words try to riot. If another hour offers me a route with the kind of honesty nobody asked for, or a window that wants to practice absolution, or a hand on a back that isn't mine easing a man toward a door that refuses to be neutral, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing, like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. When Jonah says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. The docks can keep their timestamps. The river can keep its absolutions. The lobby can keep its glass. We'll keep being the address, or, on the nights we can't, we'll be the map that admits its misprints and still traces the way back. Past the revolving door that thinks it's a verb, past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory, into a kitchen where a chair knows what it's for. A kettle sings at 7:05, and 2 hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit.